Hey, happy Friday. It's Twana, and welcome to the Guiding Principles Bible Study. Tonight, our topic is Who is God really? So, tonight we're going to come out of Isaiah 55, 7b through verse 11. So, verses 7b through 11. And it says, And let him return unto the Lord, and he will have mercy upon him, and to our God, for he will abundantly pardon. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. For as the rain cometh down, and the snow from heaven, and returneth not thither, but watereth the earth, and make it bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower, and bread to the eater, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whetherto I sent it. You know, we always want to make God human. We think that he is something that we can comprehend on every level. And I want to share something with you because the reality is a little bit different. There are many things in this lifetime that we can understand about God, but there are significantly more things that we will never understand about God. And that's because our finite minds can only grasp certain portions that we were designed to understand. So, for example, the simplicity of how you live your life in Christ is very easy for me. It's something that I don't struggle with. I don't have a hard time being nice to people. I don't have a difficult time trying to understand people. But the reality is that same energy is not often returned. The natural way, the human way, is to get angry when people constantly misunderstand you. But that's not a reality. You see, the majority of people are always out for their own gain. They have something that they're going after and they want what they want. To encounter a person who does stuff because they pay attention and they think that that's what will work best for that individual is something that comes across very rarely. And so when people encounter someone who's of that mindset, they don't understand them. And so there's constantly friction between them and that individual. And the question is why? Again, it's very simple because it's outside of the norm. You see, God is outside of the norm. The way he designed us was to all come together with our special abilities and gifts and the things that we've been given, and then to work together. So if you take my understanding and you combine it with six other people who also have a deep understanding of who God is, you get this unbelievably powerful image of who God truly is and how he designed the world. But as with everything, when division is included, now you're not communicating. Now, understanding why God does what he does is suddenly mysterious. It's suddenly difficult for people to understand. Well, how come he chose this person and not this person? And how come this and how come that? And what we do is we apply to him the characteristics and the shortfalls that we ourselves have. And that's not who God is. So let's really talk about what happens when we bring God to our level. You see, one of the downfalls of Greek mythology is this: Zeus was the head of all the gods, and Zeus could not keep it in his pants. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Zeus was forever falling in love with some human and wanting to procreate and do something, and he had all these kids, and his wife was not a happy woman. But see, that's not who God is. That's someone's ideology of who they think that God is based off of experiences that they've had. You see, we don't often stop to think that the way we look at our experiences might be the wrong way. It's not that we're trying to be disrespectful, but we're also not trying to truly understand who God is, where he comes from, and what he is all about. And that's the thing that we really need to look at. So, what happens when we try to bring God to our level? Well, the first thing is it opens the door for a lot of noise in our head. You see, God doesn't belong anywhere near us. So when we try to bring him, we're now living in what's called a lie. And that lie gives fear, pain, doubt, anguish a place to ferment and flourish and to just kind of permeate our being, and not in a good way. It doesn't make us better. What it does, in fact, is make us more challenged, more afraid, more incapable of living the life that God designed for us. It makes it harder to understand his rules. You see, the word tells us that the heart of man is desperately wicked. And if you understand that man's heart is already bad, then it should become easier to understand why God loves some, hates others, and leaves room for others to still come into his kingdom. It's because some of us have a heart that is salvageable, and some of us do not. Some of us will choose to never do or allow ourselves to be brought into the kingdom, not truly. So, when you see these people who are out here claiming to be Christian and they preach hate, those are not people that God loves. And don't make that mistake. Some of them may be, but not the majority of them. Because there is a thing called a reprobate mind. You see, if you understand that the Bible is not about right, wrong, you do it this way, or are you sending you to hellfire and brimstone? It's about building a relationship with your Father. It's about a man who owns a kingdom and what that kingdom looks like when it's running. You know, there's 8 billion people in this world. Not all 8 billion of them are going to make it into heaven. But let me tell you what I don't have the right to do and what you don't have the right to do. And that is to condemn anyone. So, their verse that says, "Do not judge, lest ye be judged," is talking about condemnation. I can't say, "Ooh, she gonna go to HELL. Ooh, he gonna go to hell. She gonna go." You can't do that. I don't have that. I don't have that knowledge. You don't have that knowledge. I have the ability to be one who plants or one who waters, but it's God who brings the increase. It's not me. It's not you. One plants, one waters, but God brings the increase. At what point do we choose to let God be who God is? We want to shut the noise off in our head? Then understand that God is going to be God because that's who he is. And he's not sitting up there wanting you to die, to burn, that's not who God is. No, that is not what he's about. What he is about is freedom. Spending time with you, getting to know you, letting you get to know him. Will he chastise you? Of course he will, because he loves you. And any father worth his salt is going to correct his child. There's no such thing in the eyes of God as a father who does not redirect his children. No. If you are a father, if you are a male, you are the leader of your home. And as such, it is your responsibility to ensure that your children stay on a straight and narrow path. So, what else does bringing God to our level do? It prevents us from living in the fullness of everything he has to give us. It's hard in this day and age when everybody is concerned about what's in it for them to talk about the gifts of God. But I want you to understand that there's a huge difference. And this is where his thoughts being higher than our thoughts and his ways being higher than our ways really comes into play. You see, if we go to Hebrews 11:6, God spells it out very, very clearly. Without faith, it is impossible to please God. For those who come to him must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. That means that both on this side of heaven and the other side, he is going to give you gifts. He's going to shower you. He's going to do everything necessary to ensure that the world knows there's something different about you. And while you're going through the growing points, while you're being pruned and grown and raised up, sometimes things are going to feel hard. They really are. And you're going to feel like God is your enemy. But that's the point at which we smile, because pruning doesn't last forever. It only lasts for a season. And the more we are willing to learn, the more he's willing to do for us. The more we want to know, the more information he's willing to give us. Now understand this, God isn't going to give you what you're not ready for. Yes, he gets to decide that. Yes, you will oftentimes believe that you're ready, and then something will happen that will show you, oh, yeah, no, I'm not quite as ready as I thought I was. Right, no big deal. Get back on the train, get back on the track, and keep it moving. God is always for you. And when you're caught in that place where you think he's against you, that's what causes the problem. That's what helps the noise, and that's where fear sets in. You've got to eradicate that. Dig all that stuff out of your insides and start to learn and look at the ways that God is for you. You know God is for you because in the midst of some of the worst situations you've ever gone through, there's always been a glimmer of hope. And many of you aren't sure why. A lot of you will say, oh, it was luck. There ain't no such thing. Oh, it was coincidence. There truly is no such thing as that. And it's hard for people to accept that. I remember it was hard for me to accept when I first entered this kingdom. What do you mean there's no such thing as coincidence? Everything is ordained. And then you go through this moment where you feel like, oh, so why make decisions if everything is picked out for me? That's not how it works. So let me break it down for you. In light of who God is, you have two choices always. Your free will always extend to a minimum of two choices. That which is right for you and that which is wrong for you. Let me give you an example. Everybody has stood on a fork in the road. Do I use drugs? Don't I use drugs? Many have said, okay, I'm going to use drugs, and they keep going and there's no real damage. But there are oftentimes more who decide they're going to do it, and then it destroys and messes up their life completely. These over here who chose not to do it, which would technically be the third path. So, not going to do it. Okay, I'm going to try it, but it doesn't have any impact in those whose lives are destroyed. That would be an example of a three-forked path. Those who've never done it, no harm, no foul. They just keep going about their business. They will have another test later in time, right? You get to make choices. How your destiny turns out, it really is impacted by where you are at any given point in time. Did you choose that drug path? Did you not choose that drug path? Did you choose the abusive relationship, or did you choose to trust God and wait on the one that he has for you? All of that has an impact on how your future turns out. How you handle each step along the way has an impact on how things turn out. Your destiny is not pre-programmed. You get to choose. Does God know which choice you're going to make? Yes. But that just tells the story of your life. It's you who has to learn all the things that come along with the choices that you make. Every choice we have in life has natural consequences because God didn't want to be an overbearing father. There are some things that just are. And if that's the choice you make, that's the result you get. If you start a campfire and you decide that you're going to put your feet right smack dab in the center of that fire as your footstool, why are you angry that your feet got burned up? You put them in the fire. That was a choice. God didn't say, oh, put your feet in the fire. No, that's not who he is. You knew better and you did it anyway. So now you pay a consequence. And that's really how it works. Everything with him is very simple and it's very black and white to the level that you need to understand in order to be successful. And as long as you pay attention to where you want your goal to be, your direction, your life to be, you see, that's the hard thing because I can tell you since I was a kid, there are a lot of parents who don't teach you that you can be whatever you want to be in life. They think of their situation and what they've gone through and they don't want you to be disappointed. Well, the reality is that life comes with disappointments. So when you have a parent who's like, "Oh, no, it'll be okay. You'll be fine. You'll be this, you'll be that." It doesn't work that way. You'll always be fine ultimately. But the number of trials and the level of trials and tribulation you have to go through is all dependent on the security or insecurity of the parents who raise you. If you had really insecure parents, they didn't often guide you. There are a lot of parents out there who are like, "Oh, my child doesn't call me mom, they call me by my first name." They're not your friend. And a child doesn't want a parent who is a friend. Like sometimes I need you to tell me, do I go right or do I go left? I don't understand what I'm deciding to do. And that becomes a problem. And so that's why God chastises those he loves, because it helps you to understand where the boundaries are. Here's the road, here's the road. If you go this road, this is what's going to happen. If you go this road, this is what's going to happen. Do you want the curses or do you want the blessings? Oh, well, I want the blessings. Okay, so you go off onto your right road. And that's exactly how he looks at things. Finally, when we bring God to our level, it opens the door to be fearful. Anytime you try to take God out of his position, you're going to get scared because now who do you have on your side? Who do you have that can guide you? Who can watch the three sides of you that you can't see? You see, you can see what's in front of you. You can often see what's on the side of you depending on how far your peripheral vision goes. You can see these things, but you can't ever see what's coming behind you. And those are the things that God leaves open. Those are the ways that he guides you and he works with you and he trusts in you and believes in you. So, when you open that door to fear, now your life is compromised. Now you're faced with and dealing with issues that you shouldn't have had to deal with. So, how do you stop bringing God to your level? Here's how. You allow him to be who he is. And instead of looking at him as someone who is always trying to do you harm, as someone who is trying to make things harder for you, you look at him and you say, all right, we're in this back to back together. How do you want to proceed forward? Some people will say it's prayer. We don't have a problem with prayer. I'm not saying it that way for any reason other than some people will call it prayer. For me, it was always a strategy session. I would literally sit down at a table with a pad of paper in my hands and say, all right, God, what are we doing here? How do I navigate out? What areas do I need to look at? What direction do you want me to go? It was a strategy session. Still a form of prayer, but I needed something that helped me feel like I was actually moving in that direction. And if that's you, sit down with a pad of paper and a pen and say, all right, God, what way do we go? Or for those of you, I forget who I'm talking to, sit down with your computer and type out your path. That works equally as well. I just like the pen to paper. And that's one of the ways that you stop bringing God down to your level, is you start realizing that he is truly not your enemy. He is not a masochist. He is not a person who is sitting there trying to make things hard for you. He's the man who is giving you the freedom to be anything that you want to be. Next, be open to all the rewards that he has for you. Be excited to see what they are. Because when you stop being excited about the way that God is going to reward you, then what's the point of this? What's the point if one day you don't get to drive that Porsche or Lamborghini that you want to drive? What's the point if you don't get to fly in that private jet you've always wanted to fly in, or you don't get to go on the vacation? What's the point of all this pain and sorrow and dealing with it every day if there's no benefit that comes from it? Those are the things that allow you, that help you to move through understanding who God is and how you begin to move through who God is. Finally, refuse to accept the lies. People will come to you and try and downplay who you are on a regular basis. They will do things and create fears and problems and all of that. And you have to continue to stand despite the pain that you're feeling. You have to. If you choose to always live in the truth and understand that His word, regardless of what people say, is the truth that stays firm and solid while you're trying to figure it out, and imagine yourself tethered to this Bible, right? And it's like one of those, have you seen the paddle balls with the ball on the elastic, and you just paddle it back and forth, and the ball goes forward and comes back and you got to hit it? Yeah, that's what it's like. And so sometimes you're going to try and go off in the wrong direction, and it's going to snap you back, and you're going to be like, ow, that hurt. And you're going to go off in the right direction, and next thing you know, poof, the paddle and everything snatches out of the person's hand and moves to the next level. And then you're going to bounce around and you're going to figure out, but you're going to be okay. And in the end, you're always going to be okay. Because if you flip to the back of the book, guess what? You win. Like, you can't lose. Not with the Father. He has already set it up for you to be a success. You just really have to choose to want to go that path. So, on that note, I'll see you next Friday. Hey, it's Tawana with Destiny Education. If you liked that video, take a moment to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell so that every single time we release a new video, you'll know all about it.